Good evening, everyone. It is nice to see all of you here today. I am Stephanie Zubiri. I will be your host and moderator for today's amazing panel. I am also the editor of Tatler Homes, and I love all things home. So I'm so excited because today we have some really great guests. And particularly, I love kitchens. And my kitchen is a Scavallini kitchen. It's been a Scavallini kitchen for quite some time. And I'm so in love with it. It still looks as good as new. Now, let's talk a little bit about modularity homes. So, they are the exclusive Philippine distributor of premium Italian home brands, including Scavallini, Valcucine, Pianca, and Elica. Now, Modularity Homes is always focused its core on cabinetry and living systems, beginning with kitchens, which is the heart of the home. I completely agree. But over a decade ago, they started this business, but have now expanded to other spaces in the home, including bathrooms, bedrooms, wardrobes, entertainment systems, and even home gyms. That's very exciting. Maybe I can do something with them soon for the whole fitness modularity thing. Very cool. Now, what I find is that they are so specialized in really maximizing the space and really trying to inject soul into the heart of every home, taking into consideration all your own personalities, the function of the house, and trying to come up with the best design for you guys in terms of space, function, and of course, style. So, what also is the good of a good quality product if it's not accompanied by good service. And Modularity Home is really known for service. So it's very exciting to have everybody here today. Now, Mod Talks, this is actually the second season of Mod Talks, and we are on our third episode, and it's all about home transformations. Now, it's a series. Mod Talks is a series that was produced by Modularity Home. They just wanted to inspire and ignite interest in style and design to a broader audience. So either end users, students, or just design aficionados, like myself. So through this collaborative platform, partnering with industry professionals, Modularity Home aims to educate and encourage conversation on new design concepts, insights, and innovation. So now, this episode, we've got some really great people on board. Of course, we have Modularity Homes General Manager Brian Hontiveros, but we also have for this particular episode now Mr. and Mrs. B of a Moss Design House. So that's Mado and Cindy Beltran. Now they are the absolute design duo. They do everything from homes to showrooms to all kinds of stuff, even like event spaces. I've worked with them multiple times. They are really spectacular at what they do. And, they have a distinct style, but they also manage to sort of bring out every client's style and purpose each time. So it's very exciting. We're going to start our conversation soon. But before we start our conversation, now, I just want to remind everyone, don't forget, send your messages in the chat box as well and questions. So if you have any questions, send it in the chat box. We have a Q&A portion at the end of our webinar, and we'll be able to answer those questions. Okay, don't be shy. Say hi. I see some people out there that I'm familiar with. So hi, Yvette. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. And if there's anybody else there, do say hello to us. And don't forget, don't be shy to type in your answers. Now, as always, to make this more fun, we are going to have a giveaway. And I'm always upset because I never get to join the giveaways, and the prizes are always good. But I'm very happy to announce all the mechanics for this so you guys can have a chance to win the prizes. Now, it's 3 prizes, so we'll be giving away to 3 lucky winners. And you have to stay tuned all the way till the end of the webinar so that we can, well, it's a fun game. I promise you that. So you'll wait and see. And it's very easy. We're gonna ask you to do something, and you're just gonna write your answer and your names in the chat box so that we can get your details in case you won. All right. Okay. So without further ado, there's a familiar face here. I can't say enough good things about Brian Hontiveros, the general manager of Modularity Homes, because he is such a good partner to design enthusiasts. He's such a easy to work. He's so easy to work with. And I little side note. I remember I was like, Brian, all your stuff is so modern. I'm like, I want more rustic. He's like, don't worry, Steph. We will find something for you. Was able to take the handles of some kitchen and put it in another kitchen, and was able to really maximize the space in my kitchen, put it all together, and make my vision come true. So without further ado, Modularity Homes General Manager, Brian Hontevera.
Thank you, Steph. Always a pleasure to work with you. And I hope that soon that we can do live events and see each other face to face. Thank God for Zoom and all these, online technology. We're able to do these events, and we're able to touch more lives, doing this. I wanted to thank everyone for joining today. I know, there's been a lot of webinars going on, but I'm very happy that you guys still support us and enjoy watching our mod talks, right? Modularity home for me is a passion. Steph, you know that. I enjoy designing kitchens and understanding what each client wants, whether it's a rustic kitchen like yours or a modern kitchen. I really believe that the Filipino home has a place for these Italian systems or Italian brands that we work with. Other than that, I also enjoy talking to people, meeting people. And this is what actually spurred Mod Talks, right? So Mod Talks is actually a conversation. It's very casual. It's trying to introduce designers and friends that we have from the industry to the public, right? To end users, clients, students, or fellow designers or young designers who want to make it in the industry. So it's a fun thing to do. And for today, usually I see Cindy and Mado in the Peninsula Hotel in the lobby. They have a lot of events there. Our showroom is there. So, I really didn't know them before. We had common friends. I would approach Mado and Cindy, especially Mado, because he's very approachable and fun to talk to. So most of the time, when we talk, it's like just very casual. We really didn't have the chance to work together because pre-pandemic, they really focused on all the beautiful events that they do for all the top brands in the industry. But now I think they're doing some homes, and there's a slight chance that we get to work together, and I'm excited about that. But for today, it's really mostly about them. So I wanted to give the floor back to you, Steph, to be able to introduce them formally. Thank you, Steph. Thanks again,
Fantastic.
Cindy and Mado.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. And before we move on, I just want to say hi to some of the other people here who said hello to us. Maria Francesca Nicole, we've got Valencia Pamela, Iya Samonte, Marcos Ramos, Yvette Magbanwa, and Jennifer Mansaili. So hello, guys. Again, don't be shy. Send in your questions there. We'll get to you later. Now, Brian, I actually met Cindy a long time ago when I was still doing my TV show, Modern Living TV. And I think I might have been pregnant, actually, or I brought my baby along or something like that. But I always had my baby's bit with me when I was taping. And went all the way to their showroom, and I was just amazed by how glamorous the work that they do together, but also how polido,
Yeah.
So I think when the finishings are so good and it's all quality, I think that makes a difference, because we can all have like different designs, but quality is really important. Now, to formally introduce our two speakers today, I will read from the script because I want to do justice to all their wonderful credentials. Okay, so a UST Interior Design and Parsons School of Design, New York graduate, Cindy takes pride in almost 2 decades of experience in interior design, event, and exhibit design. Known for her elegant taste, Cindy has worked with top-tier global brands, delivering remarkable design executions that have become benchmarks in the industry. A PSID graduate with nearly a decade of experience, In technical and on site construction management, Mado has put up his own construction firm with notable restaurant projects, retail stores, and residential projects. Wow, what a great team, right? Design and build. Amazing. Now, together as husband and wife, Mado and Cindy established Moss Design House, which is a multidisciplinary firm focused on providing an array of interior design services from events and pop ups, retail and commercial, to residential and home furnishings. Armed with 12 years of experience, Moss Design House is trusted by brands and clients across the globe, bringing a unique and distinct experience in every project they do. Included in their list of achievements are their successful and beautiful home transformations of local celebrities such as Solen Husaf, Danny Barreto, Sophia Andres, and so much more. And with their goal oriented mindset and hands on approach, it is no surprise that this powerhouse couple will continue to make a big impact in the industry. Well, they have already, and that will continue to grow. So it is our great pleasure to introduce Mr. and Mrs. B of Moss Design House.
Hi everyone. Hi, Steph. That was a long introduction.
I know. It was, but it was worthy. I was like, wow, I can't miss out on any of these things. It's very special. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to our chat and listening to your insights. I think I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been, producing events or part of events or attending events and designing or helping other people design. And you guys are always a mainstay, in terms of top of mind. If you want a quality event or a quality design, it's always Moss Manila, right? So Moss Design House. So very exciting, guys. So how did you guys start Moss Design House, and what inspired the two of you to collaborate? It's not always easy, no? Husband and wife. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, Steph, it's definitely anything but easy. Mother here.
Yeah, I got into the design field because of the interest of furniture making. My exposure with my uncle who has furniture shop in construction and inspired me.
Yeah, I mean, but unlike Mado, I didn't really come from any design background. In fact, I come from a family of doctors.
Wow.
And we were actually the first generation to diversify into the design field and not go into the medical field. And I guess the inclination to design just started in high school, and it seemed like it was just natural for me to kind of like pursue that, especially at the time wherein it was a time where the high rise construction of condominiums was just about to blossom. So it kind of like gave a very good opportunity for us too. So how did we meet? We met at a. I'm gonna make it very short. That's pretty long, but we met at a board review in Assumption, and separated path years later.
The star line.
You always say it, the star line. And and in 2008, we've put up Moss Design House with really a vision to be the first multidisciplinary firm with turnkey capabilities. So what does turnkey mean? That means whatever we design, we get to build that. So we started out a very, very tight, lean team of interior designers, and our works really was focused on commercial projects like hotels, model units, restaurants, and we also do retail development. So as you see, the keyword there is commercial. I guess we really had a knack for things that were fast to build, things that would constantly challenge us into having to work with different teams each time. So I guess that's kind of like where we had most of our interest on. And because of that too, we had, part of the discipline that we wanted to take on was event design. And that, as you've mentioned, and I'm sure, Steph, you've been to a lot of those. And really just stemmed out from our love for visual merchandising and exhibit designs. I mean, we've worked a lot on galas, launches, pop-ups. I mean, things that are sort of like built overnight. And I guess we really just find joy into that adrenaline of like, rushing things, and then you really just see and appreciate things come to life and appreciate the people who attend and say, you get to see their reaction. And then soon after that, we've put up what you were mentioning. Yes, I did meet you, and I remember very well.
Yeah, I think I was buntis or something, or
I remember that
maybe I had my.
you're pregnant.
Yeah, I think I was pregnant. I did like most of this, but then I got pregnant every other season.
It was for Modern Living. You're right. And then I just gave birth at that time. But so we put up the furniture and lifestyle store. It's called Moss Manila Home, and I felt like at that time it was very that specific look was not very common in the market.
Yes.
It was that
sort of Hollywood glam, Art Deco.
It's that Hollywood Art Deco glam that we felt. The reason why we've put that up along with my US-based sister was because there was limits for us in terms of what's available in the market. So it was, mostly just tropical, and it is very niched. So we wanted to have a store that reflected our personality. And I guess that it completed our firm's full ecosystem.
Fantastic. Well, what I find exciting about you guys is I can feel that adrenaline and that passion. I'm like that also. Like, parang I need to have regular creative projects. Like, it can't be one long drawn out project. Maybe that's why I'm not a businesswoman, because you have to concentrate on one thing. But I like the thrill and the rush of creating new things all the time, and sort of the challenge, right? To create new things. Now, you kept mentioning you guys are a multidisciplinary firm. Okay. So you're doing a wide range of interior design services, but also you've been very active on your home transformations that have been doing really, really well and getting a lot of sort of views and a lot of attention. So can you tell us more about what attracted you to these types of projects, which is completely different from what you used to do before, right? So before, I guess you might have gotten a blank space or sort of free hand with the design process, but now, you got to work with what's there. You got to work with what people need to have in their home, and with families, with
Yeah. Steph, when we decided to do home transformations, it was really mostly an answer to a problem. I mean, why does renovations or home transformations take a long time? I mean, especially during the context of the pandemic, wherein people don't want people working at their homes, there's no construction, there was very limited resources, and yet they want a new environment. So we felt that there was an answer for that. And we looked at our strengths and, okay, we're a fast-paced company. We do quick turnarounds. We have our own construction arm. We have a well-established relationship with suppliers, which, mind you, is really the key to being able to finish and have smooth executions. And then I guess from there, we saw that opportunity that, hey, we can actually niche on this. But right at first glance, you'd think that it's very different, like it's very polarizing. But when you look at both industries, it's actually very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, it interprets a vision into something tangible. The process is also very similar as well. Event design presents its challenges through time pressure, there's unforeseen surprises, there's levels of approvals. And in residential design, it's actually just the same, except that it's just more on a personal level. But both are really you have to be very calculated. Both are also very technical. But I guess the beauty, though, about what we love on both disciplines is that it really just offers an opportunity to create a design narrative on its dwellers. I mean, it's a chance for us to really tell a story about a space. I mean, in events, the brand becomes the hero, right? So whatever we do, we need to make sure that the environment reflects that brand's persona. So we study their goals, we do a lot of interviews, we need to make sure that it reaches their KPIs, it captures the attendees, and overall leaves a lasting impression. And that's really no different with residential design or home transformation. It mirrors exactly the same discipline in our interior projects, wherein the clients naman are the hero. It's really, they're the hero of their own home. Hence, it's really all about them. It's not about us. I mean, we're guided by the principle that the home should always reflect one's personality. So our role really is to edit, curate, and turn all these needs and wants into a design that's a clear representation of their life values and character.
Yeah, that's true. I was looking at the slides there earlier, and actually, funny thing is that Hermes event is the last in-person event I went to before the lockdown. I'm like, I still remember that event. So that's the last like big event with lots of people that I went to. Yeah, I guess maybe there's one different challenge that you might have with home renovations. And I was thinking about it as you were speaking. One of them, with corporate clients or business clients, like you said, they have a very clear brand vision. But sometimes with your own home, you can be very indecisive, and then you're not sure and you don't want to commit, right? Like, I think there are some people who have their own visions, and then there are some people who are like, but this is nicer. Are you sure? So how do you, I know we're a little bit off our little like flow here, but how do you guys sort of like corral that in, but also let their person not dictating your own style, no? Because I know that there are some people, even myself, I mean, I'm very decisive, but still in general, when it's with your house, you're like, this, that, and right?
I think that's the reason why you really go through a process of a long process of interview and getting to know the client, where we need to be able to sort of like break down exactly. So sometimes the client would come to us and they have a ton of pegs from Pinterest, right? I want this and this and that. But
sometimes they don't go pa, right? Like,
and then
I
sometimes
want
they
like
don't go
this,
together, exactly. And then the thing that actually stops them and makes them go back to their drawing board or to their pegs is when I ask them already, wait, is that really what you want? Because, like oftentimes it's really just, it's influenced by other people. It's just like what we see friends and whatnot, right? So, and then it stops them. And then, what we usually tell them, give it some more thought. Because sometimes the pegs that they show are so, different from one another. So I usually tell them, pick exactly what you want from that. Sometimes you look at a photo of like your house, vision of your house, and say, you'd like this, but you like another one. But you have to zero in what exactly about this photo do you want?
Sometimes it's just the chair, right? That's why I actually miss, I like Pinterest, but I miss real mood boards. Don't you miss that? Like magazine clippings, a piece of cloth, maybe a photograph of a mood that you like, or could be even a song or a movie. I think sometimes when it's too visual, people just tend to copy what that is, right? Let's just copy, let's just find.
That's right.
It's a home is also a feeling, right? Like, what feeling do you want to create in the room, what in the space? So okay, that being said, let's go back really on the heart of like residential renovation and reconstruction. So renovations is harder than building from scratch. I know this for a fact because I've done a home renovation and I've done building from scratch. The problem with renovation, you have to work with what's there. You have to work with the bones. You can't like just knock down walls, right? Like, so what elements you consider to say that like the home needs to be transformed, or where do you even start? Like, yeah, like if you want to transform a space, where do you start? What's the first space? What are you doing? Are we changing the wall color? Are we knocking down walls?
Yeah, the typical timeline of minor renovations like 3 to 5 years, and major renovations 8 to 10 years. No, home fluffing is like a seasonal. So mga yearly yan.
Yeah, yearly because you have
It's me. I get
different-
sawa.
Huh? Yeah, because you get
Change
some-
pillows.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But you will know if it's due for renovation. And
I guess, yeah, when a home no longer adapts to or answers to the current needs of the family and occupants. I think the primary reason really why a renovation takes place or why there is a need for renovation is because through the years, the needs and the functions of the household really change, right? And, sometimes when you design a home or when you move into an already existing unit, it kind of becomes very intuitive in a way wherein you're in a rush, either you're just copying trends at that specific time. And sooner or later, sometime down the line, 5 or 6, 7 years from that time that you just moved in, things have changed drastically. And clients have already learned, having to live in a certain space for a long time, what works and what doesn't work for their lifestyle. And I also think that homeowners' taste, they mature too. Ergo, what I always say is that don't go for too trendy designs. When you do renovations, it needs to be, or not even, like when you do choose a specific theme, it needs to be a theme that you're happy to live with for the next 10 years, right? How
so is that the benchmark? Sorry, I'm just gonna come in. Is that the benchmark, like when you're deciding on purchasing something or buying something or changing your kitchen, for example, you're looking at, will I love this for 10 years?
Yes, that's one. So the timeline. I also think of the function. I mean, when I have a family, is this really is this like you'd have sharp tables, right? And then when I have a family, is this still okay for my kids? When kitchen counters, when you realize you have a child who wants to cook, things like that. I think it's being able just really to factor in and have the ability to anticipate what you will need in the future may limit your need to renovate eventually. But I get, in essence, really, you'll know naman, right? When your home really needs to have an update, when it doesn't inspire you anymore. Remember that your home should be able to always uplift and inspire you. And if it doesn't, then for sure.
I think Steph and Cindy, I think like during this time, like because of the pandemic, parang people renovate because of different reasons, right? Like right now, most of the people are stuck at home. So they kind of realized na, we have to do more things at home. There's online schooling, you have to do a home office. The kitchen has to be bigger because now we really cook every day. Parang, or basically, nagsasawa na sila. If you see something and then you've been using
every
it
day.
every day, instead of just seeing it once a week or twice a week because you go out often, parang, nagsasawa na sila sa design. So they plan to change it.
Right.
That's true. But you know what? I also found energy, right? Like, and it's super weird, but I don't really follow feng shui, but someone gifted me with a feng shui reading at the beginning of the year. And a lot of my stuff in my house, if you guys have been following me on Instagram for a while, used to be all blue, because I love blue. And then my feng shui was like, sabi niya, bawal yung blue sa'yo because it's all water. You're all water, and blue will make you sad and moody. And then with the pandemic, I was always at home. So even my bedroom, puro blue. So I had to change. And you know what? I will tell you this. I have injected a lot of color and bright, happy colors in my house. It changes the feeling of the house. The energy, parang like, I get happy. Even my dad's like, why so many colors? I'm nahihilo. But I'm like, but it makes me happy, right? So I think sometimes the randomest things can push you to redecorate or renovate, right?
Yeah.
I think very useful though what Mado said in terms of timeline and 3 to 5 years for minor renovations and changes, and then 8 to 10 years for like bigger ones. So I'm already seeing it in my own home. I've been here, yeah, since 2018, end of 2018. I'm already making all kinds of changes and renovations and repainting and wallpaper, adding shelves and things, and then I'm already thinking ahead. Okay, maybe in 5 years I'll change the flooring or the
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's funny that timeline. I didn't think about that. So it's good also for people to plan ahead and think, okay, maybe in 10 years, like to really think ahead. No,
Yeah.
so here's my other question. So when you upgrade a home, how are you able to elevate spaces while maintaining or still incorporating old elements that the clients want to keep? Because that's quite common. No? There's some things that like are really sentimental value, or they just don't want to spend, but they want to keep it in there. How do you address that?
Okay, but before I go into that, we'll just start off when we sort of like when you decide on renovating your home, right? So we really just start from I think it's helpful really to identify what needs to change, and that is from the broad to the specific. So sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes you'd say I want to change, but couldn't identify exactly what you want to change about
What?
your home, right? So it goes from there. So broad down to specific. Look
That
at
must
all
be
the
difficult. That client who doesn't know. I want to
yes.
change, but I don't know what. Yeah.
So you kind of like dissect that and say, what are your issues first?
Yeah.
Why is things no longer working out for you? And then you find solutions from there. Then after that, you consult, you start consulting already professionals. You try to
Yeah.
figure out, is that major renovation, is that a minor renovation, what is this going to entail? You have to factor in the timeline, I mean, the budget as well. How
Yeah.
much is it gonna take, how much is it going to cost before really diving in into that whole work. And I really also think that renovating a home should always be systemic. I mean, you always have to factor in the occupants while the
Yeah.
renovation is going on. Are you going to do the floor first, kitchen first, living room first? Things like that. And now, about the how to elevate old things. Okay, you'd see this quite a lot, and I'm actually very the two of us, we're very I guess our philosophies have always been mixing the old and the new, because I feel like that's
Mm.
really where the personality of the home shines through,
Indefinitely.
and it does reflect
Yeah.
them as well. And
Yeah.
so when we do meetings with clients, we ask them what their mandatories are, right? So what are you willing to keep, and what are you willing to let go, right? So
Sure.
from there, we just build around that story. We make, it doesn't matter whether that's an armoire or that's a special chandelier or whether that's an etagere. I mean, we build around that story and make that a statement piece, or sort of like
Mhm.
part of that narrative. I mean, we elevate by choosing a theme that's not so stark or contrasting to an existing piece, right? So that's kind of
Okay.
like where you revolve your design
Yes.
story. I remember this house that we did in the US, but I can't show the photos because they're very private. But I remember this home that we did, and it was a beautiful home filled with antiquities of like really precious ones, right? And she came to me and said, Cindy, I want it to be modern in your style. And how contrasting what she originally wanted. But 70% of the things that she owned she wants to retain,
To keep.
to
Yeah.
keep. But they're beautiful. They're beautiful. And I said, with that kind of house and with that kind of asset, your home should already look like a museum. It should look a beautiful museum, right? So what did we do? Instead of injecting our aesthetic, I sat down with her and said, you know what's best is to get decorative elements. You know how like in sofas have different design silhouettes, right? From different genres.
Yeah.
And I said, let's just do something that's transitional. Stick to a specific design era, but on a modern silhouette. And that kind of like worked and blended in so well, and that elevated. It didn't look drab anymore with all the wood, and I guess it's really just a matter of balance.
Yeah.
And it's practicing the art of mixing the old and the new, the high and the low,
But that's so important, right? Like,
Yeah.
because no one wants a showroom house. I mean, correction. There are some people who do, okay? They really do. Some people will walk in and say, I want this whole thing to look like this. But personally, as an editor of a homes magazine, I am actually drawn to spaces that are layered and unique and have personality and have a story. And more often than not, these places are the places that have that mix, that sort of polarizing contrast. So, there's nothing. I think the French do it the best when you
Yes.
have these very old apartments with the moldings, with the whatever, with the herringbone floor and like wainscoting, like very old fashioned, but then you have very modern furniture, vintage pieces. Then your chandelier is very old fashioned as well. And then, so they really know how to blend the ornate with the sort of sleek and giving everything room to breathe as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think, that gives a house soul and character,
Yeah.
because you're not just like matchy everything, which I think some people really do, that matchy, like that's the sakit of Pinterest. It's matchy, diba? Like, oh, let's make sure we find everything. So okay, we have some, before we move on to like a more free and open discussion, I want you to invite all our viewers out there. Again, I see some people already asking some questions, which is great. I can see it in the Q&A box and in the chat box. So please, again, if you have questions, I encourage you guys to type it in the Q&A box. We'll get to as much as we can later if we have time during our Q&A. And of course, feel free to send us comments and shout outs on the chat box as well. And right now, I'm going to invite all of you guys to answer a poll. Okay. So, very simple. What space in the home would you love to revive? Kitchen, bathroom, living, entertainment room, bedroom, or walk-in closet, wardrobe? Let's see what the poll says.
I'll answer.
Yeah, I answered also.
That's
To be
also.
honest, you know what? Okay, while waiting for all the answers to come in, I'm gonna make chica about my own home transformations. I realized during the pandemic, the least used space in my house is my formal dining room. It became
Yeah.
one big empty kawawa bodega space. Like I just make tambak things on my table and whatever. And I have no idea what to do with it because, I realized that even if I have a big family, we don't get together as often as we used to. And I really enjoy entertaining small groups. So like we always entertain either now in my kitchen counter, which I love because I really designed my kitchen to be like I'm cooking and chatting with people, or in my breakfast nook, which is right off the kitchen. And nobody wants to eat in my dining room. So, and it's got a ginormous table, good for 12 to 14 people, because it's as many people as my immediate family, my parents and my siblings and the significant others, right? So, wala pa yung mga kids and grandkids. But I have no idea what to do with my dining room. It is now this empty, dark. I put already nice wallpaper, put artwork, but parang I don't want to invite 12 people to my house anymore. I like the small groups, parang so cozy. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with it. Turn it into a parlor or a spa. I don't know what to do with it. Ay, nako. What did you guys answer, Brian? Oh, a lot of people said kitchen.
I think a
Kitchen?
lot of people really want to change their kitchens now, because nga they use their kitchens already. But for me
Yeah.
personally, I had a small den. My dining room is parang open to the kitchen. It's like an open kitchen
Yeah.
space. So I don't have a formal dining. I had a small den beside. That's not being used so much anymore. But then we needed more parang space for pantry. So I converted that space into a pantry slash
Oh,
laundry room. So it's like more of a
good
multi-purpose
idea.
room now. Yeah. So I
Nice.
guess it really depends on, what you need at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know how to remove my dining table. We craned it up through the before we put the windows.
Yeah, yeah, your top floor.
Chop that magnificent piece of wood if I want to renovate it. So as of the moment, it's just there.
It's just there.
How about you guys? If you wanted to
Um,
renovate, you
I
answered the poll.
Like
Si Mado may sagot.
me bedroom eh.
yeah.
Yeah, kasi I know
Bedroom.
I always work at night, late night. So when I get home, talagang kailangan ko comfortable bed eh.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the bedroom. Me, it's the kitchen. Not because I'm friends with Brian or because we're in mod talks, but also because I really like to cook. And it's a
Yeah.
form of therapy for me. Like I zone out when I cook. And
Yeah.
it's my frustration in my current home. But we're no longer renovating because we're building a new home. So that's where I'm
Nice.
really gonna focus a lot of my money and
Time.
and time into that kitchen. But yeah.
But I think it's amazing how the kitchen has really become the heart of the home, especially in this pandemic. Because like not only is it comforting to cook for yourself, but for family and just the joy of like slow living, doing things for yourself and making something special rather than fast, fast, fast na lang, diba? And Mado's interesting because I find a lot of people have changed their perception of their bedroom, especially with work from home, and people are really looking for a space of sanctuary because the whole day if you're working at home, most people if they don't have a home office they're working in their dining tables or other spaces that parang you really have to create a cocoon in your
Yeah, your own
Mhm.
bedroom,
bubble.
right? Like parang
Yeah.
it's a separate space. When I shut the computer, when I go in at night, it's like I'm relaxing. Like I actually don't like to check my emails or do any work when I'm in my bedroom na at night. Parang like don't talk to me. I don't wanna, because otherwise we're always working, right? So it's nice
Yeah.
to have a little cocoon. Okay, so I'm just going to remind you guys that we have a giveaway at the end of the webinar. Okay, so you have to wait for our game at the end of the webinar. And we are going to be giving away some exclusive modularity home goodies. So stay tuned for that. All right. And when we have the game, it's as simple as putting your names and your answers on the chat box so we can reach out to you. All right. So let's bring Brian into this discussion a little bit more. So I want to talk again about the pros and cons of renovating and building from scratch. And Brian, you've done a lot of home projects, and especially kitchens. My goodness, that's very difficult to renovate a kitchen, right? Like you have
Yes.
existing pipes and electrical outlets, and it's hard. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think because of the nature of the brands that we carry, most of our projects are actually from scratch, right? Because when
Mm-hmm.
you order something from Scavolini or Valcucine, it takes you around 4 to 6 months for the items to arrive from Italy, right?
Yes.
But given that situation, we've had some experience working on renovations, especially for condos or older homes where they don't want the kitchen anymore, so they're gonna renovate it.
Yeah.
um it's a bit more limiting, right, Mado? I mean it's nice that Cindy and Mado are, they're both design and build, because sometimes some designers, like even on our side, we design something and then it's not really feasible to
No.
do, right?
Yeah.
With Mado, diba, parang sometimes you want to do something and then they want to add the dishwasher, or you want to add like a a range hood and move it to another wall. Parang they don't know the intricacies of, you know, you need crawl
Yeah.
space on top of the ceiling, you need to
Yes.
install a
True.
duct. Parang it's really challenging. And then,
Mga
you know, we were
topic.
talking about, mahirap, di ba, Mad? We were talking
Yeah.
about feng shui. I'm part Chinese, so you know, when you talk to feng shui experts, they change the layout
Oh
every
yeah.
year. Every year, like
Huh? Every year?
the love spot moves to the other corner, and the money spot moves here. So, parang if you listen to that, it's so hard, diba? So, if someone comes
Bumili
to
ka
us,
na lang ng mga crystals and mirrors na. It's
kaya
so
yung
hard to
mayaman sila, eh.
renovate.
Yeah. No, so
Yun na lang
I think,
ginawa ko.
yeah, I mean, it's easier for us to do like kitchens from scratch because, you know, we are able to kind of relocate certain elements. Most of the time people renovate kitchens or change kitchens because, you know, it's multi-generational. For example, the father or the grandfather owned the house, and then later on it was, you know, given to the son, diba? Or they have more family members in the family now, so it's different. So these are some examples of actual kitchens that we've done recently that are, you know, from scratch. So, you know, we're given the freedom to use the space better, to design it better, to add more, you know, elements and more appliances, for example.
Mm. So Brian, just to like sort of like hone in on your point. So let's say I have an existing kitchen space with, you know,
Mhm.
old style carpentry cabinetry, right?
Yes.
And oh, I think my marble top looks fine. Some of these old houses still have a really nice marble counter, right? They still have that,
Yes.
but it's like cement poured and then it's all this sort of like carpentry work. So how much of that can you feasibly keep? And where do you say I'm just got the whole thing, make it an empty box and we start from scratch?
It's very difficult to reuse or repurpose like things that are already built into the,
Mm.
you know, cement, right? If it's cement and it's
True.
tiles, you know, that's the old school kitchen, right? All our
Correct.
grandparents had that. So most of the time, if that's the case, we actually have them remove everything. If, you know, we have them understand the value of these new systems, the
Mm.
material, you know, more moisture resistance, etc., etc. It gets very technical, but you know, there are a lot of advantages into renovating and upgrading your kitchen. If it's an old kitchen that has a good marble top, yeah, I think there are companies that can actually remove the marble top.
Salvage.
Yes, I'll reuse it, cut it to the new size. We've done that also before. But you know, speaking of countertops, I think most people now use synthetic stone or sintered stone,
Mm.
or you know, not real stone anymore, because we've come to realize because of science, you know, they are able to replicate Carrara marble, right, or Cardoso stone, and still make it look the same as real stone, but at the same time, you know, it's
It's
non-porous.
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 Yeah.
Non-porous.
Heat
Uh,
resistant.
heat resistant. Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
technology involved in all these things. It's not just
Sorry.
The
design.
worst the worst talaga is that red wine, no? When you're nice Carrara
Wala last.
marble,
Yeah.
that's
Done.
Oh no.
forever
Brian,
there.
sorry, I'm just gonna chime in very quickly, and I wanted to ask you this. If in renovations of kitchens, if carcass is good,
Yeah.
of an existing kitchen, are the panels or the doors are you able to sort of like change just the doors, or that's as good as no, you really have to change the full carcass?
I think it depends on the situation. For example, if it's Steph's kitchen, we did the kitchen before. It's a Scavolini
Yeah.
kitchen. Let's say 10, 15 years down the road, you know, she's tired of the design, or she wants to change because of feng shui her blue kitchen into a pink kitchen. Um, we can do that. I mean, we can order the doors, just the doors, and replace everything, and it looks, you know, good as new, right? Because
Mm.
each brand in Italy, or each kitchen company will have their own standards in terms of height, width, depth, right? So it's not interchangeable. There's no standard. Um, so that's the issue. So if someone comes to me and tells me that it's an old kitchen but it's not done by us, and we've had, you know, experienced this, then we should honestly tell them that, you should go back to whoever did your kitchen, right? Or if
Yeah.
it's carpentry, then it's easier to do that. Yeah.
True. I mean, I think that's also very important to consider, and some people are always on a budget, but I have to say, guys, the last place you should be on a budget is your kitchen. You can be on a budget with some furniture, with your wallpaper, with your paint. There's so many other
Yeah.
places you can save money, but kitchen and bathroom do not, and flooring do not. That's supposed to last forever, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as much as possible. Okay, sidebar, I made the biggest mistake. Everyone was telling me I should get engineered wood for my flooring. And I was like, no, I want solid, nice planks, whatever. Oh, now I have anai. There you go. So I'm like, how did I get anai? So really don't make the bid on these things, because that's really the things that will save you money in the long run if you get quality, right? Um, okay, let's talk a little bit more about other projects that you've done. And so Moss Design has that unique style that you're really known for. It's that sort of Hollywood glam. We touched on it earlier. But you can also adapt to the different styles of clients, and which is also what modularity home does. So like flexibility, versatility, has this always been your design philosophy? And even Brian, please chime in on that, because I know you have clients with different tastes and different requests, right?
Yes.
Cindy? I've always really, Mada and I have always believed that I think a good designer adapts well. I think that's a primary factor when you choose a designer. They should be able to adapt well to clients, to their parameters, to their budgets, without sacrificing aesthetic. And yes, you're correct. I mean, while you can see that a lot of our projects that we've done, whether that's residential or whether that's a commercial or event, I mean, it's not a one size fits all. That's not how it works, especially with residential design. So we really, as I mentioned, we really do try to invest time in sitting down, getting to know our clients before diving into schematics and really design development. We're just really firm believers that a home should reflect really that person and their personality. So I will never be able to impose our aesthetic to someone who doesn't like Art Deco, or is, it may just seem like you'd see touches of it here and there, but I think it's a matter of being able to really just marry both our aesthetics and the clients that really make one design project work.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Brian? I'm sure you get inquiries of very different homes, different personalities.
Yeah, I mean, for the end users that talk to us directly, because we have two types of transactions. Sometimes we work with architects and designers, and we have to adapt to their aesthetic or their vision for their clients. But sometimes we talk directly to end users if it's like a renovation and there's no architect involved. The beauty with, for example, Scavolini is that there's like 40 different models, right? So if there's a client that wants something that's more industrial, we have a diesel, design kitchen that will be, perfect for someone who wants this, coffee house look, right? So it's really us adjusting or understanding what the client's personality is, and then offering like the correct model for them, right? We can't just open all our books and all the catalogs and have them like choose. It's very difficult. There's too many options. So we really have to, as Cindy and Mado are saying, we have to understand what the client really wants, what their personality is. And we don't cookie cutter our way into the client's home, right? So each kitchen has to be different. It has to adapt to the client.
That's very specific, in terms of needs, in terms of some people just want a show kitchen, some people really use their kitchen, and it's very different needs. People who really, one of the challenges I remember with my kitchen was like, I really cook, and mine is like a center island where the stove is there and it's facing to the dining and living, and like people are surrounding me. But I lost my shelf space of where I put the oil, the spices, the whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Brian, like how am I gonna cook if I don't have these things beside me? So designed. I'll never forget it. They designed a drawer for me that fit all my little spices. So they measured pa the McCormick
Yeah.
bottles that they can fit how many bottles across and how many, and then a drawer below that has all the oil, so it's not kalat on the counter but it's accessible. So
Yeah.
I find that really ingenious. um Okay, so I have a question here from some Q&A. Brian, this is for you. So we'll move on to the Q&A now. Been a lot of really good questions here. So there's what we call the kitchen triangle between fridge, stove, and sink. And do you suggest it to clients and why?
I think if it's a single user, for example, in the US or in Europe, diba, parang there's no help or there's no extended family. Like in our culture, there's like two or three people cooking, right? So you can't really strictly follow the kitchen triangle. Sometimes there's like 3 triangles or 4 triangles in the kitchen.
True.
Um, you have a range in your kitchen, right? Which has a stove on top and an oven underneath.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people use that, but then on the flip side, some people use wall ovens and they put it on the wall, right? And
Yeah,
then
I'm
the
Arte.
cooktop
I
is
have
separate.
all three. I have 3 ovens.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot. So see,
I have a
so
small,
so
a
your so
medium, and a large.
I think your example is like precisely what I'm saying. There's like multiple triangles in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes there's 2, 3 people working on the kitchen, so you need
True.
like a wider space from your cooktop to the counter behind.
Yeah.
So there's like walk space, right? So
Yeah.
we although we understand and value the kitchen triangle, we don't fully subscribe to it.
Mm.
It really depends on the lifestyle of of each client.
If I had to change one thing in my kitchen now, is that I would have maybe put 2 sinks or put a separate
Yeah.
dishwashing sink in another area, because the kitchen is such an open space and an integral part of my entertaining space that when they do dishwashing or cleanup, it's either like in the way. So if I'm either cooking, they're like right behind me if they need to
Yeah.
help me clean up and stuff. So I'm super grateful that they're there, because my God, when I was in Paris, like you do everything, diba? Like you cook,
Yeah.
you clean, you whatever. And I liked having a small kitchen because it was like that, right? And
Yeah.
then when I moved back home, my kitchen was quite large, and I was like, parang it's so far to go to the ref and far. Like I actually liked it not to,
For us.
so yeah, the kitchen that Brian helped me design, it's just the spaces is a very functional. But I would definitely have 1 sink for like vegetables prep and like getting water maybe beside or very near the stove, and then another sink where you bust out the dirty dishes and it's elsewhere. So parang prep area and then cleanup area is what I would do. um Okay, so we have some really interesting questions out here, and let's get to it because I want to give time to some of these questions. Okay, um, I like this. Anonymous attendee, how do you make your space not too Pinterest-ish or too Pinterest-inspired? This for Cindy and Mara.
Yeah, I suppose that's for us.
Yeah.
How does I think there really needs to be a step back from having to have a vision overload of images in Pinterest. I think to be able to sort of like draw that line of having a two Pinterest board, Pinterest home, is that to go back to your roots. What are the unique elements that you feel you can own, and sort of like incorporate that in your space? I mean, again, we go back into your own personality, something that you don't see. Because the tendency really, if you look at Pinterest, is that I'm going to copy this chair, I'm going to want this chair, I'm going to put it all together. And then you end up to be having this okay, it looks like a magazine cover,
Pero yung function ng
but the
snap
function
is not.
doesn't really work
Reflect
for
the
you
person.
and doesn't really so my suggestion really is to make sure that you go back to your roots, inject your own things that you sort of like don't draw inspiration
Yeah.
from your Pinterest, I guess.
And I guess also you have to think of like mood and, like you said, function, right? Because sometimes Pinterest is just, like you said, all how it looks, but not how the space functions, or like maybe it looks nice, but maybe at home everyday use, you don't necessarily want your bedroom to look like a hotel, or right. So it's definitely thinking also out of the box. Okay, so before we move on to other Q&A, I think what we're gonna do is we are going to do a little game, and it'll give us some time to figure out the winners. Okay, so guys, here is where we are going to have a little bit of fun. So, but keep your questions coming in. We are going to answer some of them again after this. So it's very interesting. This is the first time I think Mod Talks has done this. Okay, so it's a challenge game with Brian, Cindy, and Mado, and it's
Celebrity Interior Design Challenge. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Celebrity Interior Design Challenge Modularity Home Edition. So we're gonna flash on the screen a composition. It's like a collage of photos, and we have 5, and we're gonna ask Cindy and Mado and Brian to sort of weigh in on who they think should be living there in that space. Okay, so we're gonna start. And then for the last image, guys, we're gonna ask you guys to tell us who you think will be living there. So we're gonna have 5, and then the 6th image, I will ask you guys, and you type in your answers and your names, how we can reach you, so that we can reach you in case you want. And we'll let you know the winners at the very end after some more Q&A. Okay, so let's start this.
Steph, you'll help me explain. I'll try to explain what's in the photo.
Okay, I will.
Okay, so photo number 1, it's a collage. This is like a mood board. Usually, you see this on site. There's a kitchen called Caratere. It's a transitional kitchen that's iron gray. If you notice the detail on the lower right, there's a frame door on the kitchen, and then the handle is actually integrated into the door. And then, of course, we have to match it with a white closet for the bedrooms, and a exhaust hood by Elica that's actually very big, up to 1.5 meters wide.
Wow. And a good range hood is important, especially for someone who likes to cook, no? So who do you guys think will be living here?
Ako I think si Jeff, yung Amazon guy.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the guy.
only because I think it's I don't know, he's sleek.
Linis lang.
He's not a frou-frou.
He's
He's not a frou-frou kind of guy. He's very modern, I guess. And I also think it's maybe Wolfgang Puck. Maybe.
And Pop,
I mean,
is
don't
he
you
still
think?
Uso? Is he still Uso? So
I had to think of a
Wolfgang sa
chef.
Manila. There's
Baka
Not
nagluto
the
ng
restaurant, iba yun.
it's different.
Yeah.
I think that's different. No, because like I think some of these restaurants are very like kind of very modern. Maybe lang. I couldn't think of anybody else, but yeah.
Well, definitely, I think that would be like a cool space that it feels like a man space. So parang
Yeah.
bachelor, no? Like long time bachelor kind of guy. Like it's a bachelor. Walang woman's touch doon.
pero a lot of houses that we do people want dark kitchens. I don't know why. That seems to be the trend.
I think because they're moving away from, they want to be, the kitchen has become a sexy space, like, it's kind of like at night, you're entertaining, right? It's not anymore like, it also depends on the profile of the couple or the parents or the homeowner, but parang instead of like, oh, we're baking cookies and like moms and kids, there's also a whole segment that is like the kitchen is a sexy space. We have wine, you turn down the lights, you put music, right? Like your cooking is sensual. So I think that's a nice trend, like a darker
Yeah.
kitchen, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, next space. Let's look at the next space. Oh,
Steph, this is actually
kitchen.
this is your kitchen. But now, we work with this brand called Bianca on the lower left. This is actually a walk-in closet with the same profile with framed doors. You don't actually see that very often.
Yeah.
And then with the bathroom, Scavolini has a bathroom line on the lower right. That's actually a dark oak. But at the same time, it's very classic. And then you can match it up with a classic furniture in the bathroom. I haven't actually done a bathroom that looks like this. I guess this is a catalog. So, but
You can
yeah,
do mine.
it's okay. Anytime, Steph.
It's very
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
Ako,
Here, who?
si Tita Marta.
It's Tita Marta now.
Snoop Dogg.
No, but I think, I think maybe that's Martha's kitchen. Kulang na lang the copper pans. I think it might just be, or I don't know, maybe Taylor Swift. I don't know, because she's country. I have no idea.
I actually agree with sort of like Taylor Swift also. You know what's similar also to Nina Dobrev's home? It just came out in like Architectural Digest, but it feels like Martha but younger.
Yes. You're
I'm
right.
just saying that because that's my kitchen. Younger and sexier naman. Although Martha Stewart's super sexy now, like found herself. I think like what's really nice about it is it's still a bit sleek. Like it's still traditional but sleek, and functional. So I have a condo. I live in a condo, but I didn't want my kitchen to feel like it was a condo. I wanted it to feel like farmhouse, like I have chickens and fresh produce out the door, but it's really just Makati. Yes. Okay. Next one. Okay.
Okay, so I think industrial has been the trend for the past, I don't know, 5 to 8 years. But with diesel, they took it a step further by combining like minimalist elements and not making it look too industrial. Kasi medyo gasgas na eh. But they added the feature for the living room on the lower left and for the bathroom on the lower right. So it's a very masculine space, but at the same time, it's nice for like beach houses and things like that.
Okay, so who would be living?
Okay, I think you're right. I think it's very manly. Someone who is very edgy. I do one local and one international.
May local la.
But I guess Chris Martin. He's very edgy. Kind of like a rock star kind of guy. Maybe
he can sing to me while I cook. Okay, then.
I mean,
while I cook.
And then the other one would have to be, I think it's Gerald Anderson. I have no idea. I mean, I guess he's very utilitarian. I mean, it's very like, I guess kind of like that. Medyo like a little bit edgy. I think
that's her crush, huh? Putting it out to the universe, this is your next renovation project of Gerald Anderson's kitchen. Okay, next one. Next one we have.
This one's super classic. We haven't really done a lot of this in Manila, but I think Scavolini created this line for like more traditional countries like Russia, maybe, or the Middle East. You have these golden elements that's integrated into the white cabinets. And then we matched it up with like an open closet that's just in the corner of your room. So in case you want to display, like, you want to look at your stuff, you can open it up. And then, if you want to, tidy it up, you just slide it back in. So yeah, this is another interesting mood board that we prepared.
Okay, so
this is really tough. The promise, the top of mind is really Donatella Versace, that's it. But a little bit more, with a gold, a little bit more luxurious, I guess, with all those gilded
Yeah.
corners. I guess it's more that.
Pwede
Um,
si Christina
He can,
Aguilera.
yeah, he can also. I think that can be Christina Aguilera because her house is very glam and she can sort of like go into this Italian look.
Yeah.
I
How
think.
about these Avon teas can be
Oh
all
yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
vibes, diba? So,
Yeah.
question, Brian, do these cabinets come in different colors as well, like different finishes?
Yeah, it comes in black, red. There's a
Ooh.
lot of different finishes that you can use with
Red,
this particular design.
wow. Red and gold or black and gold like that?
I think it's black and silver, so they changed like the combination, but it's the same like aesthetic.
So
I
glamorous.
think that, yeah.
Very. Okay, so I think, was that 5? Did we do
So
5?
there's one
I
more.
think there's one more, and then the last one is for the
Contest.
guests.
All right, so this is our last one, contemporary luxe.
Okay, so this is Valcucine, the kitchen on the right side.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
made out of glass countertops. And if you guys visit the showroom, we drop a 5 kilogram ball, 2 kilogram ball onto the glass. Very hygienic, super modern. Again, it's very dark. Then to soften it up a bit, we add like that element that's copper, very minimalist. And then I think uso now are these closets that are semi see-through.
Yeah.
Sobrang uso yan, but I don't know if I think it's very hard to maintain because you need to have the same, diba? Like
That's
if you have clothes,
Yeah.
so that's the very popular nowadays. And then the cooktop that we use for the kitchen is from Elica. It has an integrated exhaust system in the middle. So for kitchens like this that are super high ceiling,
Nice.
this is what we suggest because all the smoke goes into the middle. You don't need to put a range hood on top.
Fantastic. So who's
Okay, this is spot on. I feel like it has a very Japanese feel, don't you think?
Yes.
And very modern, very dark, like a lot of his restaurants.
Mhm.
And I think this is Bruce Ricketts. Don't you
Yes.
think, Steph?
Super, parang Mecha Uma. Exactly.
Super.
Yeah.
But I don't know about Jay though. I don't know. I don't know how Jay would agree to that. But yeah, it's very Bruce Ricketts.
Agree. So who else? What about you, Mado? Any thoughts?
Si Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Hell's Kitchen with the smoke.
Yeah.
Diba? Okay, so guys, our audience out there, now is your chance to give your opinion on who you think, what celebrity or celebrity chef, local or international, would fit in this mood board. Wow, so funky. Exciting.
This is Valcucina's latest model called Logica Celata. If you translate it, it means helmet, right? So when it's closed, parang it's just a box, like Pandora's box. You wave your hand, there's a sensor, and then it goes up. There's different variants. It's super interesting. This one is a bar. So we've had clients parang install it in their man cave or in the lanai. It can be like a bar and not a kitchen. On the left side, this is called the Amalfi Closet by Bianca.
Mhm.
Because of the work from home situation, they added an element wherein when you open the door, there's a hidden like office inside, right? So all of these things are parang interchangeable items. They're not defined spaces. You can put it anywhere you want. And then on the lower right, Scavolini created this bathroom called Gym Space, where you have that parang ladder at the back where you can do Pilates and stretching. But at the same time, the bathroom is also mounted into the same bracket system.
Amazing. I think this is a really special, a bit funky, like I see that like super cutting edge design, especially with that like fun design, the black and white. Yeah, there's some answers here. Let's read some answers here. There was Hugh Jackman, Roy Choi, Dwayne Johnson, Adam Levine, Mark Zuckerberg. Parang Adam Levine feels very rock star din,
Yeah.
diba? Rock and roll or artsy, like someone a bit more artsy. Katy Perry, parang she'll have the other one, the sort of more traditional one. Bruno Mars. Okay,
Bruno Mars.
keep those answers coming in. Ooh, Harry Styles. I like Harry Styles. So why don't you guys keep answering there in the chat box? Don't forget to send in as well. We'll make sure your name is there so we can reach out to you guys. And we will choose our 3 winners and we will announce it at the very end. So now we're going to have some time for you guys to get your answers in. For Cindy and Manu and Brian, choose the top 3. And we will flash later who the winners are and announce it at the end. So we have time for 5 Q&As. Okay, so we've got some here for Cindy and Mado. Okay, this is from Trinity Figueroa. I'm a second-year student in PSID. I'm wondering, how do you conceptualize a design for a specific client and bring out their personality without the design being repetitive if compared to your previous designs? Good question. How do you not stay repetitive?
Okay, how do you stay not? I think because each, when you scope out an interior design work, you go beyond the theme, right? It's not just a theme that you have in mind that makes one project unique.
Yeah.
It's a layout, it's in consideration to the space, the environment outside. It needs to have a correlation of how this outside look to end. And I think all these other, all these other factors, it makes one place, unique. Not only the theme. I also think that each space, when we study it, it has its advantages and disadvantages, and you try to work on the strengths of a space and how to sort of like elevate that and how to enhance it further. So, and then whatever weakness in a space, you try to hide it. And I think all those factored in when you put it together really just makes one space unique.
Yeah, definitely. There's no one size fits all, right? Like you might have a look or a style or go to a different designer because their look is similar to yours, or you want to try someone fresh or whatever, but no space can really be the same, right? Okay, here's another one from Dungo, Jill Dungo. Okay, have you ever had any clients who own homes made in the 50s and 60s and want modern contemporary interiors? How do you marry the architecture and interiors that don't seem to be cohesive?
I can only think of one that was made, and it's a very nice home but I did it way back. It was a shape of a coin, a Chinese coin. This
Circular.
was wak.
Yeah.
It was really a shape of a coin with sort of like an atrium in the middle. It's a Chinese coin, so it's circular.
It's like a donut.
Yeah, it's like a donut, and you just walk around it, and the rooms are like, it's beautiful. And I think that one was really due for a renovation. It was built sometime like on the 1960s, 1970s, and for that, it was really a matter of picking out which one they were willing to let go of. And I think when you've built a home and you haven't renovated for such a long time, there's a lot that you're willing to let go already, right?
Tawa ka na.
Because you're like, you're done. And how do you marry? We work around with the you get inspiration with that. Like that's such an unconventional layout, the shape of a coin in architecture, and we just really drew inspiration from that. I mean, we took cue from that fluidity, from that curves, from that. We didn't want to cut through and put very rectilinear furniture and things like that. So again, as I mentioned, architecture plays a good role. You don't want to have interiors where it really is stark from how the outside looks like.
Yeah. Also, like if I can chime in, the 50s and 60s Jill are the mid-century modern. So they are really that's the era where modernism, modern furniture was born, or modern design. Sleek. Post-war, we're looking at plastic, at new ways of doing plywood, metal. I mean, these are very hot items right now in terms of trends, mid-century modern furniture. You've got some really amazing architects like Neutra, right? Who really was all about sleek and simple and bringing nature in and out, right? So, I think the Philippines, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of these heritage homes, but you do have these 1950s and 60s homes that you should embrace actually the architecture, because that's the foundation of the modern architecture that you think of now. So a house that I was renting before in a subdivision was a bungalow from the 60s, and just embrace the vibe of this sort of old-fashioned sprawling type of bungalow house. And I really loved it, to be honest. I find that it also gives you a lot of room to sort of play with different things, and there's a lot of woodwork, I think, in some of the old homes here in the Philippines, like the sort of jalousie or lattice work, or there's always these random postes in the middle of nowhere. But that was very much of the 50s and 60s, the shadow play of light. So maybe just giving it a fresh coat of paint, make it keep the woodwork but paint it white, or maybe even a fun color, and it becomes an accent wall, right? So let's not forget 50s and 60s, that's where modern furniture was really born, no?
And I wanted to add, Steph, I think with working with very I guess historic houses, or houses that are built, they're really, you're correct, they're very well made. There has a lot of start to it, but I think what will work well is not to fight that. The interior shouldn't fight the way the architecture is done, and I think that's where you're really going to get a harmonious and cohesive kind of like flow of interior architecture.
Perfect. Okay, so here's another one. Kevin Allen Capistrano, as a fellow interior designer, how do you continue to gain inspiration without being too repetitive or being too predictable when it comes to interior design? So that's true, and I'm going to add on to this before you answer the question. I read somewhere that because of the social media algorithms and all that, you're always fed the same stuff. So the more you like something, the more you are shown the same thing, which actually makes us more narrow-minded and less exposed to different styles and different things. So sometimes what you think is inspiration is actually just cutting you from real inspiration. So how do you guys keep inspired, basically?
Steph, I couldn't agree more to you. I think a lot. I think also because designers sometimes tend to just kind of like shortcut things, because of the exposure. You're correct. Exposure of everything that you see. There's an overload of visual images, but they all belong to the same kind of like family and trend and category, right? How do you keep inspired? Where do we travel? To me, we really value travel as a sort of like a source of inspiration. Recently, I've likewise put up our how like this really big wall of fabric padded wall, because I want to go back to that. How before interior designers used to have paste everything from magazines and images, and that's not even related to design per se, but it's like snippets of like corbels and whatever design elements. And we've recently put that up, and because I just wanted to bring back the old times, I guess, the way we do it old school, wherein you draw that kind of inspiration based on colors, plants, based on
Textures
on objects. I guess that's how we try to keep ourselves less close-minded.
That's great. I actually really like film as well, film or TV shows like Queen's Gambit, like so nice. The mood, the vibe, or Wes Anderson movies, the color palette, right?
Yeah.
So inspiration can come from anywhere, really. Okay, so we have a couple, maybe two more questions here. Okay, this is interesting. With the rise of Instagram and Pinterest, just building on our last question, a lot of people who are not architects or interior designers are offering services. What are your thoughts on its effect on the industry, and how do you think we can uphold our profession to different kinds of clients?
Political, Cindy.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a very, very touchy
It's a hot
subject.
topic. I
I
know some
know.
people get like, woo, like really upset about this. Also, interior designer versus interior stylist versus
Yeah,
decorator,
yeah.
right? Like you can't really use here in the Philippines the word interior designer unless you studied it, right? So,
And yeah.
your thoughts on this?
Thoughts on that? Wait, without me having to go very hold on. It's a hot seat question. Um okay. I guess that all depends on, I mean, okay, clients would have their own freedom, right? It's their own call.
Yeah.
I think what's really important is for the clients to know what are the expertise of each. What are the pros and cons of getting someone who's licensed or who studies interior design, and what is the pros and cons of someone who just is a hobbyist or like someone who just wants to decorate. I guess that kind of like depends on both your needs. Um, Interior designers, I think also need to be able to sort of like present and highlight what are their strengths that are, I guess, skills that they skills that are solely interior designers, like technical skills, being able to read plans, being able to sort of like anticipate space planning, all the things that are, I guess, less superficial in the aspects of I always say it, it's not, our role is really just not, the common misconception is that interior designers only choose fabrics, colors,
No,
furniture and whatnot. But really, when you try to dissect us, a centimeter off a chair it creates a snowball effect. Or like a centimeter that goes above the standard staircase, it again creates that snowball effect. So I think just the clients being wary of both. I hope I answered that.
Well, like if I may, like I am a personally like design enthusiast, and I know exactly what I like, where to get it. Like I love to decorate, and actually a lot of friends in the past I even thought about, should I divert into that? But really, I still needed for my space, I still needed to engage a professional interior designer, because what you guys don't see, what they do, where do the electrical outlets go? Where
Yeah.
do the light fixtures go? You're gonna hang a painting. Do you want to put the light there? Guys, you don't know how hard it is to do a lighting plan. You're like, what? The space is not even finished, and I have to figure out what painting goes where and what lights will go where, and where am I gonna put the lamp, and do we need a socket on the floor, and do we, there's so much more than just decorating a
Yeah.
space. Now,
Yeah.
I think, if I may suggest, if you're working with an existing space, if you are working with a space where you're not going to change your electrical outlets, your lights, your this, you're not going to take down a wall or whatever, then I think it's all right to engage someone for the style that you like. Like they might be a stylist, they might be a designer, they might just be a design enthusiast who likes to go and find things. That's okay. So you're doing a refresh of your house. But if you're going to do a major renovation where you're knocking down walls, you want to change the mood of the space. And to be quite frank, even with my bedroom, I did a whole recent sort of like revamp of my bedroom, and I had ideas, but I collaborated with a designer, and when I followed her layout, I was like, are you sure? Apparently it's gonna feel, my room felt bigger actually, because they have creative ways of, like you said, space planning. So that's a big part of a big, I would say, a big value, added value that a real interior designer brings. The space planning, electrical, all the technical aspects that you mentioned. So,
And
depending on what you need, if you just want to, fluff your bar cart, your pillows, like maybe, then it's okay to go with someone whose style you admire. But if you want to really change things up,
Yeah.
including move
Yeah.
furniture around, you might
Right.
want to consider like a real interior designer, right? To really plan out and plot out things.
Yeah.
So,
Because even if I may add, Steph, I mean, again, taking you from what you said, it's just a lot of these other technicals, of a lot of coordination from other engineering trades that you really have to factor in. That usually, these are the things that we study, and these are the things that are brought about by experience of working with, along with all these other professionals. And you're correct. I mean, even things as simple as, where does the sun rises? I mean, is it a morning sun? Is it an afternoon sun? How is the sun going to hit you? I mean, all these things. I mean, what is the paint going to look like, or wall finish going to look like in the morning, afternoon? And I guess all these. You're correct. It really just depends on the needs of the client.
yeah, I just so many technical aspects. I'll never forget figuring out the types of light bulbs I was gonna use. I mean, I remember I just spent one whole week on, my brain was fried on the lighting plan and where to put all the light switches, and like the light, which ones are dimmable, which of the lights go on together, which of the lights go off together, right? And just choosing the right light bulb that hits the artwork so that the colors are right, what lumens, but it's very hard to do all of that unless you really get nerdy yourself.
Yeah.
So, it's always good to have the advice of someone like, even my home, just it's very personal. I had my own taste. I would say I decorated it myself, but I didn't design it myself. Does that make sense? Oh, I think that's the two different things, right? Okay, last question we have here. Okay, the last question is, in your opinion, how do you define a good interior design?
Okay. I would, I recently, I just wrote an article. Someone asked me to write an article. It was my very first article that I published. And I said there, I was asked, what is the true spirit of interior design? And there I said, I think that a good design is that fine line balance of, of, of knowing that a design is actually a solution, that also at the end of the day engages real life emotions. Why do I say and explain that emotion is very important? And I think you've mentioned that earlier, Steph, when you said that what matters and what matters is really how a person would feel when you enter a space, right? And that's really emotion. And even people who enter a space or visit your home, they would always remember how that space made them feel, right? Yes, they would notice, okay, the very expensive chandelier that you had there, but it's really that emotion. So I think a good design would be able to kind of like extract that. I also think in terms of just aesthetic is really being able to have all your balances, balance and proportion and scale and all that factored in, into making sure that a design really fits somebody else's persona, life, values, and character, I guess.
It's really I guess your space is a reflection of your soul, and a good interior design will do that. So soul meaning your function, what makes you tick, and everything about you, right? So thank you guys. This was really enlightening. I really enjoyed this talk. It's fun because I like when the banter is free and fresh and flowing. So I really like that. I enjoyed it. Now for announcing our winners, okay, before we wrap up, okay? So we will announce our 3 winners that Mado and Cindy chose. All right. So congratulations to Roangeli Paz for suggesting Bruno Mars, I like that. Actually, it's quite funky. Jill Dungo, Adam Levine, yeah, or Levine, but yes. And Marcos Ramos, Derek Ramsey. Puede rin. Puede rin. Nice.
Because of that gym inside, no?
Huh?
Because
Yeah.
of that gym inside the bathroom.
Exactly. Looks great. Thank you guys and congratulations. You all received a modularity home set. Okay. And those scents smell so good. I have them here as well. So, all right. So first of all, thank you so much, Mado and Cindy. I hope this is not the first after a long time again that we'll chat. Maybe we can do some future projects together. It was really nice to get in touch with you guys and hear all your amazing insights, you know?
Yeah, thank you as well, Steph. We're really, very just happy that we did this together. I know it was Mado's. We've done events together, but Mado's first time. But I'm just so happy he said yes to special request of Brian. But yeah, lakas ni
Yeah,
Brian.
Lakas. Thanks, Mado. Thanks, Cindy.
Natural. And it's also nice to hear from the construction end, right? Like, I think a lot of people think that design is just about making spaces look pretty, but it's also really that functional side of it. That's all construction and all technical. Very difficult, right? So thank you as well, Brian. Okay, so any last things maybe you want to say to the students before we wrap up here?
Always have your client's best interest.
I think, I think to the students or aspiring designers, I think it's very, while you guys have your own style and your just keep on, I guess, stay true to yourself. But at the end of the day, always have your client's best interest, and know that it's always our role to adapt and be flexible. So we always have to learn how to balance our aesthetic with the clients. I mean, learn to suggest but not impose. I think this is also very important. Offer but not coerce, and respect freedom, but just overall accept that responsibility. And yep, that's about it from Mr. and Mrs. B.
Thank you. How about you, Brian? Any last words before we wrap things up?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. You spent a lot of time with us. It's almost 2 hours. We tried to limit this to 1 hour, 1.5 maximum. But then, if it's a fun conversation, then time flies. Thank you, Cindy. As usual, you're very, very, very eloquent. Nahirapan kami ni Mado sumabay, but we tried our best. Mado, I know this is the first time you joined the webinar, and I appreciate the time and effort that you put in. I'm looking forward to working with you guys and helping you guys with your house. Just let me know if you need anything. Steph, as usual, very good host. You're one of the best, and we're happy to have you as a partner. We're looking forward to doing more stuff with you and Tatler as well.
Yes, please. Thank you guys so much for having me today. And before we wrap this up, I mean, this is really fun. I really love to talk anything design and to learn from other people out there, especially our experts here, and it's always a pleasure to be a partner to Scavolini. If you guys know me, I don't really associate myself with any brand that I don't feel passionate about. So definitely Brian, all the brands that he represents, I can vouch for personally. So, okay, guys, before we wrap this up, I encourage you all to visit Modularity Home showrooms. Okay, they have the Scavolini showroom in SM Mega Mall and the Valcocina showroom at the Peninsula to experience their systems. I guarantee you, once you touch all those soft close cabinets and super nice drawers, it's like they close with a whisper. It's amazing. You've got to experience it for yourself. And you may follow and reach out to Modularity Home and Moss Design House via the contact details here on the screen. And if you guys want to follow any of my design adventures or inspirations, you can follow me at Stephanie Zubiri on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And of course, to support Tatler Homes, they've got a lot of content online. You can also follow Tatler Philippines and Tatler Homes on Instagram. It's a great source of inspiration. Enough now with Pinterest. Get a real magazine in your hands and cut out the stuff you like, and then I guarantee you, you will not regret it. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for such a fun evening. I'm so glad we're all here tonight. And that's pretty much it. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.